Hi there, vinyl community. Sorry it's been a little while since my last video, although I do tend to make one about once a month now. So the last one was my Mannix Send Away the Tigers reissue. So for this video, it's a bit of an album review slash kind of discussion about one of David Bowie's one of these earlier albums. It's actually his fourth. And it's one that's just been reissued on like limited edition. I don't know how limited it was, and we'll get to that in a bit. So I thought it was a good chance for me to actually discuss the album and just tell you a few of my thoughts. It's by no means, all things all things Bowie. It's just what I think about the album, about kind of what it's all about and stuff like that. So you'll have read by the title if you are watching, having clicked on it because of the title, then I'm talking about an album by Bowie released in 1971 called Hunky Dory. That's the one there. Very iconic sleeve cover. This is my, I think it's a second pressing, it's not a first pressing. It's missing its insert, but this is the one I've been listening to for, until about 2 year and a half ago, when the 5 years box came out, and I got a brand new, lovely repressed one. So that's the original one. I've got this for a particular reason, just because the font, look at the font, very straightforward, and also the sleeve itself is not particularly laminated. It's slightly shiny, but it's not shiny. That's that. And so the original label looks thus. There we go, just an orange RCA label with Dynaflex on it, and it does say no, that's it. Nothing else to say about that. So that's the original press. So about a year and a half ago, when the 5 years box came out, you got this lovely new version. Look at that. So if you compare that with the original cover, it's a little bit, obviously it's new, so it's always going to look a bit brighter. But also look at the shine on it. There we go. You can't really, the shiny version here, and on the back, you can see that it's not shiny apart from right at the edges. I don't know if I can catch, yeah, you can catch it right down the side there, just a single edge. And this actually, they repressed it, and I've done a video on this, so you can go and have a look at this if you want to. But what's really nice is that they've produced, or reproduced, should I say, the original lyric insert, like so, which is a delight. I thought this one used to have the lyric insert in it, but obviously not, because I don't generally tend to throw things away or kind of or mess them up beyond repair kind of thing. So obviously it didn't. And then that's the repressing. I've already shown this in another video, but really quickly, there you go. So it's another RCA style logo with the correct font. So the main reason for this video is because this month, so June, well, it's actually at the end of May 2017, they've reissued again the same album. They've not done any remix on it, they've just done a special edition of it. The reason is because it's the 45th anniversary of Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and that is in a couple of weeks' time. Well, it's actually, oh my goodness, it's next week, I can't wait. And so to mark the 45th anniversary, they've done a limited amount of pressings on in a gold vinyl. And as part of that, I don't know why they didn't do this last year on the 45th anniversary of Hunky Dory, but they've done it now instead. They've done a limited edition gold pressing of this one. Now, I am vastly aware that I am being ripped off to the knackers because I now have gone and bought another copy of this album. However, I will say that I adore David Bowie, and everything that he touches for me is gold. Excuse the pun. So I'm glad that I bought it, because it's one for my collection, and my collection is for David Bowie growing rapidly. And it's one that I've had for years, but it's still growing rapidly. What with the amount of stuff that they're chucking out at us. So next week we've got the Ziggy Stardust, so I'll do a review and a discussion on the Ziggy Stardust album. But anyway, really quickly, so again I've got another reproduction lyric image, and then instead of the original white bag that the original album back in the day came in, this has got a black in a bag which has got an anti-stat kind of sleeve on it, and I think that's so that it shows off the gold coloured wax. There we go. Now you can see they've got the same reproduction label, it says Bowie there, rather than RCA. So back in '71, this was Bowie's first record on RCA. It's his fourth album. So the one before this was The Man Who Sold the World, and that was Mercury originally. And it featured a lineup of Mick Ronson, Trevor Woodmansey, and of course Tony Visconti on bass. And they kind of that session, or the sessions for that album, were widely known to be pretty much the band that did it all. And Bowie just used to rock up and chuck out his vocals. He obviously wrote the lyrics and the tunes, but they kind of the band rehearsed mostly without him and recorded without him, and he just dropped in. So he had minimum input on those sessions, and that's why I think that album sounds a little bit different to his other early stuff. I think I love Man Who Sold the World. It's an album that I've placed a great deal of kudos upon, but it's one that is a little bit odd. It's a little bit proggy in a way. You think All the Mad Men. It's a bit, there's big long songs with a flute solo and a poem in the middle. It's just, sorry, are they recorders or flutes? I can't even remember. I think they're recorders actually, played by Ronson. Anyway, so this is the first album where you really begin to hear Bowie's kind of direction. Certainly from 71 through to like 75, maybe something like that. And it's the last album he did until he was in Berlin. That's actually it's an album. It's an album of music. It's not a concept. It's not a stage act with music that goes with it. It's not any kind of. It's just a sonic artifact. It is just a piece of music, or several. In this case, 11 pieces of music. I think Low was the next one that really was just an album of music and nothing else associated with it. You think Diamond Dogs, that was a whole 1984 concept. Ziggy Stardust is obviously Ziggy Stardust, and Aladdin saying a continuation of that. And you could argue before this you had kind of the idea of Major Tom, but he didn't do an album based on Major Tom. It was one song, and there was references to him in other songs, but it wasn't a concept that streamed through an album. And so this is a collection of songs, which is what all a good percentage of albums around the world are. And it's got some absolutely killer tracks on it. So you start off with Changes, probably one of his most famous tunes. Oh You Pretty Things, another one that you'll find on all the best ofs. 8-line Poem, which I really like. Life on Mars, which is actually the song that I remember the most from when I was a child, listening to this exact physical copy of the album, dancing around my parents' living room. Life on Mars is the song that I remember the best for that. Kooks, which I think is the best song on the album. Quicksand, Fill Your Heart, Andy Warhol, Song for Bob Dylan, Queen Bitch, the Bewlay Brothers. And I think Queen Bitch was a kind of a tribute to the Velvet Underground. He was quite a big fan of theirs at the time. Well, he was always a big fan of theirs. So that's what it looks like. That's what it runs like. Stylistically, we start to hear kind of pre-echoes of the Ziggy Stardust, the glam sound, a little bit in places. Particularly if you think Life on Mars, you've got the fully orchestrated string sections, sweeping piano parts, big choruses. And it's quite varied. I mean, Kooks is my favourite song on there, but then you got Andy Warhol is just fantastic. Now, when they were recording this in '71, halfway through the sessions, Ken Scott is the bloke that mixed and mastered it and whatnot. They actually got rid of Visconti, or Visconti wasn't available at the time. I think he was quite busy around the world at that point. And so they actually got in a guy called Trevor Bolder to play the bass, who actually ended up becoming the fourth Spider and from Mars, and staying with him for 2 albums after this, I think. And I think he plays trumpet on it as well somewhere. Trevor Bolder, trumpet, bass, Rick Wakeman on piano. Apparently they booked Dudley Moore to come and do some piano sessions, but they never managed to get it to come through and him to actually turn up and do some sessions, which would have been interesting, because if Dudley Moore, who is, everyone knows him as a Derek and Clive comedian, but actually he's a very proficient jazz piano player, or just a very proficient piano player, and he played jazz. I just wonder what it would have sounded like, Life on Mars, with less Rick Wakeman styling on the piano and more jazz piano Dudley Moore. I mean, that's an interesting thought. I don't know if I like that thought or not. I mean, I love Dudley Moore. I've got some of his trio stuff up there. Rick Wakeman, incidentally, did say that he was very much given the songs by David Bowie, or played them by David Bowie badly, and he was just basically told to go for it and record them as he wanted, and then they kind of built the songs around him. I really like the musicians on my album are, and it goes through all these stuff, and I played some guitar, the saxophones, and the less complicated piano parts, brackets, inability. I quite like that. David Bowie is certainly somebody who knows, or was somebody who certainly knows how good he was and how not good he was at certain things. The cover is iconic, because apparently he went into the photo shoot for that with a Marlon Dietrich photo book, so kind of lots of 1930s pictures of Hollywoodery, and that's what he's gone for. If you actually Google search Marlon Dietrich and you look through the first couple of pages, you'll find a picture where she's striking a very similar pose. That's been, it's basically the picture's been then painted upon or shaded in, and then it's been printed. So I think it's lovely. I mean, it looks very much like an advert would look in the 1920s, or you kind of like the back of playing cards and that kind of thing. Incidentally, I did mention earlier on the first press, look at the font. The font on these represses, both of them, has changed to this slightly more chunky font. You can see it's in both there. Doesn't really make any difference. I do like the original one slightly more. So yeah, and the cover design, does it say it on here? Front cover, back cover by Brian Ward. Brian Ward was his childhood friend who went to kind of arty college with him, and he's actually the guy that punched him in the face and gave him that stigmatism in his eye, which meant that one eye often looked like the pupil was a lot bigger, and sometimes gave him the impression that he had different coloured eyes. He basically punched Bowie in the face because he had a girlfriend, not David. Brian Ward had a girlfriend, and David told the girlfriend that Brian would meet him. Brian will meet you here at this time. And then, no, it's the other way around. He said to Brian, your girlfriend will meet you here at this time. That's what she told me. So Brian went there, and while Brian was waiting for his girlfriend to turn up, David had gone in, got his girlfriend, and taken her off on a date. Sneaky. Something like that. Please comment if you know better. I've read it in a biography somewhere a while ago, so it's all good. So yeah, so the addition of a different bass player, the loss of Visconti, obviously returns very shortly in Bowie's career. That's fine. Yeah, so that's that. And if you look at the back, there's the back cover. I didn't think I showed you that. So he's got long hair, a little bit of Man Who Sold the World styling still, but he's gone, rather than dresses and stuff, he's gone for more classic, huge flares. How do I rate this album? So, I mean, I'm a massive Bowie fan. If you haven't gathered that by now, then you should. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. It's not one that I'll listen to that often, if I'm honest, though. It's on my turntable for Bowie. I've got about 15 albums that I think are fantastic. I count this among them. Currently, Station to Station is the one I can't stop. I physically cannot stop listening to it. Just cannot stop. I would tweet every day the same picture of the same album cover being repeated again, but you'd be bored of that. But Station to Station, and also Lodger as well, on his Berlin years, is fantastic. This is one that when it does come out, I really enjoy listening to. It's one that my kids enjoy listening to. They're only young, but they know Changes, and they know Life on Mars as well. And so it gives me quite a lot of pleasure, and brings back a lot of childhood kind of memories, and safe childhood memories. There's other albums that do it for me as well, but this one is one of them. I love the cover, I love the music on it, I love the fact that this is kind of the gateway to where kind of Ziggy grew out of, if he wasn't already born at this point. But certainly musically styling, he was definitely in the same kind of, it was the first time that he gained an identity, and he stuck with it for a couple of albums. He had, his first couple of albums were quite changeable, when The Man Who Sold the World, as we previously discussed. I really like it. I'm going to, because it's got his name on it, but it is good. I do listen to it, and since I've got the gold version, I've been listening to that quite a lot. I have to say, it was a bit weird, actually. I was in the record shop, and it says limited edition gold vinyl, and I'm not buying it because it's limited edition. I'm buying it because I'm a bit of a completist, and I do want it, and it's an album I like, and I want it in my collection. The gold version, I like that. But I don't know how limited edition it really was when I walked into Sainsbury's and saw it sitting there for 14 quid. And then I went into HMV in Bristol and there's 12 or 13 of them just racked up there, 16 quid. And then I go to my local record shop and I'm perusing and he's got none of them on the thing. And I said, did you not have any? He went, and he said, well, yeah, I had 3 and they went like hotcakes, indicating that you'd think that it was possibly quite rare. So I said, I'm a bit confused. I don't know how many they've made. And it said on his website it was only bricks and mortar record stores. Or maybe it just said bricks and mortar stores. But I don't class Sainsbury's as a bricks and mortar record shop. I only just really would say that for HMV. They're kind of a multimedia entertainment shop rather than a record shop. So yeah, that was a bit confusing. Still, I've got it in my hand, I bought it. So, you know, job done for them, I suppose. So next week I've got Ziggy Stardust coming out. That's an album I know absolutely inside and out, and so I'm gonna get the gold version of that, and the next video I do will probably be that. The week after that, the Radiohead OK Not OK, which is the kind of not limited edition, the kind of the souped up 3-disc version of OK Computer comes out, and I've got a pre-ordered copy of that. And so I've got a few albums coming out that I'd like to do packaging reviews and box openings and things like that. And I've got a couple of other new records that I bought recently as well, but I'll go through those in another video. This is just about David Bowie today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please do follow me on Twitter @_vinyl_junkie with an IE _. I'll put it in the description below. And yeah, go and watch some of my other videos if you like what you see, and comment away. Please tell me what you think. If you disagree with anything I say, that's good. We're all human. We all think different stuff. So I'd like to know what other people's opinions. And I'm not precious about what I think. I'll change my opinion if somebody gives me a better one and says, actually, I think this is better because this, and this. Well, great. I'll have a listen to it and I'll see what I think as well. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you. I'll make another video for you soon. Bye now.